Nianchu, who had just graduated from college, came to the beach in Taichung to shoot her graduation project but accidentally got swept into the sea. In her moment of despair, a mysterious man named Li reached out and rescued her. However, Li's companion was captivated by Wan Nianchu's beauty and intended to assault her. But Li approached the girl and told his companion that he was interested in her. That night, Nianchu was roughly thrown onto the bed, trembling as she pleaded with the man before her to let her go. But Li remained indifferent. He took off his shirt to reveal his abs and pinned her down. Nianchu thought she was about to suffer misfortune. But to her surprise, Li was only doing push-ups over her because his companion was watching them from outside the room, and he had to act this way to protect Wan Nianchu. Li's sweat dripped onto Nianchu's face, making her shyly turn her head, her eyes falling on a calendar showing the date July 14th. This was the day they met, a date that became special in Wan Nianchu's heart. One day, Nianchu tried to escape but was caught by Li's companion. The persistent companion tried to harass Nianchu again, but Li showed up just in time to rescue her, beating the lecherous man until he begged for mercy. In the following days, the two spent a lot of time together, and Nianchu unknowingly fell in love with Li. However, a twist of fate forced them to part ways. During an accident, after saving Wan Nianchu, Li urged her to run. As Nianchu struggled to climb ashore, she watched the ship carrying Li explode. Had the man she loved perished in the flames? 5 years passed quickly, and Wan Nianchu clung to a shred of hope, firmly believing that Li was still alive. During a blind date, Nianchu saw a figure outside the window that resembled Li, and she rushed into the rain, ignoring her date. But when she caught up, she realized the man wasn't the Li she missed, and her disappointment was indescribable. Due to a crisis in the theater troupe, Nianchu had to attend a dinner party to discuss a collaboration with actress Li Xiaoyan. To her surprise, she encountered Li, the man she had longed for over the years. However, his eyes were filled with unfamiliarity, and he introduced himself as Li Teng, claiming not to know her. Li Xiaoyan affectionately held Li Teng's arm, and the two appeared like a close couple, sinking Nianchu's heart to the bottom. Despite this, she was unwilling to give up on any possibility. To verify Li Teng's true identity, even though she couldn't swim, Nianchu bravely jumped into the pool. She hoped Li Teng would once again be her hero, just like Li had been. But it was the security guard Jiang Hao who rescued her from the water, while the man named Li Teng stood by indifferently, leaving Nianchu deeply disappointed. It turned out that the familiar figure Nianchu saw during her blind date was indeed Li Teng. He had watched from a distance as she anxiously searched for him in the rain and captured her expression of disappointment. The wheels of fate turned quietly, bringing their stories closer once again. Nianchu opened the door, surprised to find that her blind date was actually Li Teng. As she was about to turn and leave, Li Teng gently told her that he was indeed her date. The two sat facing each other, their gazes meeting. Li Teng clarified his relationship with Li Xiaoyan, stating that she was merely a work partner. Nianchu was secretly pleased and tried to probe whether Li Teng was Li, but Li Teng appeared somewhat displeased, emphasizing that he was not a replacement for anyone. Li Teng drove Nianchu home, and on the way, Nianchu mentioned July 14th, the day they met, which unexpectedly ignited Li Teng's anger. She sulked and moved to the back seat, but Li Teng forcefully pulled her back to the front seat. Yet, Nianchu did not give up. She deliberately left her cushion compact in Li Teng's car, creating an opportunity for their next meeting. Upon returning home, she received a message from Li Teng, inviting her to an art exhibition the next day, which made her overjoyed. Nianchu arrived at the art exhibition as planned, but unexpectedly ran into her arrogant rival Li Xiaoyan. Faced with Xiaoyan's aggressiveness, Li Teng returned the cushion compact to Nianchu in front of her and openly declared that he was pursuing Nianchu. This move made Nianchu's heart race, but left Li Xiaoyan furious and jealous. Li Teng then took Nianchu to the beach, where she suggested that they try dating. Li Teng knew she wanted to confirm whether he was Li, but he gladly accepted the proposal. Li Teng's subordinates uncovered crucial information. The mastermind behind the organization was Darn, the son of the person who planned the ship explosion 5 years ago. Li Teng had to obtain the coin before Darn realized its importance, and this coin was the one Nianchu had accidentally taken from Taichung. The next day, Nianchu dressed up carefully to meet Li Teng. When she came downstairs, She saw Li Teng playing with a little girl and mistakenly thought she was his daughter, but she learned that the girl was Jiang Hao's daughter, named Xingxing. Jiang Hao had something to attend to, so Li Teng was helping take care of her. Xingxing had no fondness for Nianchu but was very affectionate toward Li Teng, which made Nianchu a little jealous. At the amusement park, Nianchu deliberately spilled water on Li Teng, trying to check if he had Li's scar on his abdomen. However, Li Teng saw through her actions. Half jokingly, he suggested they rent a room, so she could check thoroughly, leaving Nianchu feeling deeply embarrassed. But Nianchu didn't give up and offered to teach Li Teng how to play a shooting game. When he made a graceful turn, his familiar movements and posture from back then overwhelmed Nianchu's mind, further convincing her that the man before her was indeed Li. On the way home, Nianchu questioned Li Teng about whether he was Li. Li Teng didn't answer, but took her to a hospital room where a woman named He Lihua, who was mentally unstable, was staying. Li Teng revealed that Xingxing was actually the daughter of his good brother, Xia Fei. After Xia Fei died in battle, his wife He Lihua lost her sanity, and Xingxing was left in Jiang Hao's care. Nianchu finally understood why Li Teng was reluctant to admit he was Li. He didn't want Nianchu to endure the kind of pain He Lihua had suffered. After taking Nianchu home, Li Teng arranged to teach Xingxing to play the piano the next day. Early the next morning, Li Teng arrived at Nianchu's house, where her parents were very pleased with their prospective son-in-law. While at Nianchu's home, Li Teng looked for the coin chip but didn't find it. When Nianchu came out of the bathroom, she was surprised to find Li Teng already waiting in the living room. He calmly reminded her that he had mentioned yesterday that he would come to pick her up today. 2 years ago, Li Teng miraculously survived the ship explosion. As his injuries healed, he used crutches and tried to meet Nianchu. However, a call from Jiang Hao stopped him. He was told that getting close to Nianchu would put her in danger, so he painfully decided to sever all contact with her. Li Teng intended for Nianchu to teach Xingxing piano, so they went together to the troupe to fetch the piano. Li Teng entered the office to search for the coin but found nothing. When Nianchu walked out of the warehouse with the electronic piano, she was surprised to see Li Teng chatting warmly with the troupe members, who even enthusiastically invited him to join them for lunch. During the meal, the troupe leader casually mentioned the forget-me-not flower, piquing Li Teng's curiosity. He straightforwardly asked the leader for the flower pot, hoping to find clues to the coin but found nothing. At a friend's birthday party, everyone played truth or dare, and Nianchu was urged to kiss Li Teng, but she chose to drink to avoid embarrassment. Li Teng drank in her stead. Afterward, they took their drunken friend home and decided to walk back together. Nianchu seized the opportunity to confess her feelings. Li Teng gently stroked her hair, and the atmosphere grew intensely intimate. He leaned in to kiss her but stopped at the last moment. Li Teng went to the troupe and demanded the troupe leader return the coin hidden in the soil. Meanwhile, a woman sneaked into the leader's office. The leader took the coin out of his wallet but accidentally dropped it on the ground, where the mysterious woman swapped it with a fake one. Nianchu's theatrical debut was a great success, but Li Teng ended up with a counterfeit coin. After the performance, Li Xiaoyan taunted Nianchu backstage but ended up humiliating herself. Li Teng took Nianchu out to celebrate, bringing her to a food street she had mentioned 5 years ago. Nianchu deliberately tried to create physical contact at the night market but failed each time. She then suggested that Li Teng teach her self-defense, and their bodies inevitably drew closer during practice. Each touch made their hearts race, and Li Teng's self-control gradually crumbled. He pulled Nianchu into a deep kiss, releasing all the emotions he had bottled up over the past 5 years. Through investigation, Li Teng discovered that the coin had been swapped by Vasha, who had known him since their time in Taiching and secretly developed feelings for him. When Vasha noticed Li Teng's affection for Nianchu, she became jealous and secretly hid the key coin in the forget-me-not flower pot, attempting to frame Nianchu for stealing the chip. In his effort to protect Nianchu, Li Teng had a fierce confrontation with Vasha and was severely injured. Li Teng immediately contacted Vasha, who proposed a meeting at a hotel to negotiate. At the same time, Nianchu received a fake interview call, unaware it was part of Vasha's scheme. In the hotel room, Vasha, dressed provocatively, acted flirtatiously towards Li Teng, a scene that Nianchu happened to witness. However, Nianchu remained composed, calmly analyzing the situation and realizing that it was a setup by Vasha to drive a wedge between her and Li Teng. Although Vasha's plan did not succeed, Nianchu realized that Li Teng's approach towards her might not be entirely pure and that he was likely hiding something. Li Teng picked Nianchu up for work, and they once again brought up the topic of the coin. Li Teng became agitated and warned Nianchu not to investigate further, scaring her. Nianchu received a call from Vasha, who used a provocative tone to stir her emotions and demanded a private meeting, claiming she would reveal the truth. Nianchu, filled with doubts, immediately took leave from work and informed Li Teng to meet at the location Vasha had specified. At the dock, Nianchu, despite her fear of water, forced herself to walk step by step toward Vasha. Vasha pulled out the coin, declaring it to be the real reason Li Teng had approached Nianchu. During the confrontation, Nianchu picked up the coin, and as Vasha attempted to make a move, Li Teng and Jiang Hao arrived with their men. Seeing the situation turn against her, Vasha jumped into the water to escape. Holding the coin, Nianchu questioned Li Teng. His evasiveness and silence broke her heart, and she returned the coin to him, painfully asking for a breakup. After the breakup, Li Teng was deeply troubled and vented his emotions by punching a sandbag. Jiang Hao advised him to let go of the past, unable to bear seeing Li Teng so dejected. 3 years ago, after surviving the ship explosion, Li Teng's muscles had severely atrophied. Through sheer determination, he completed his daily rehabilitation training. Jiang Hao showed Li Teng Xiao Yufei's social media post, prompting Li Teng to decide to pick up the drunken Nianchu. At the KTV, they found Nianchu and Xiao Yufei passed out on the sofa, and Li Teng gently caressed Nianchu's face with concern. As he took her home, despite her slight intoxication, Nianchu reminded herself to maintain distance from Li Teng. She told Li Teng that she was the one who broke up with him. However, Li Teng suddenly kissed her forcefully and refused to break up, leaving Nianchu feeling conflicted. The next day, while going to work, Nianchu got into a suspicious taxi. The driver took her to a secluded alley and tried to assault her. Remembering the self-defense moves Li Teng had taught her, Nianchu managed to escape successfully. When Li Teng heard about the incident, he was furious and decided to become Nianchu's personal bodyguard to protect her. Li Teng told Nianchu that from now on, he would be solely responsible for her safety, which left Nianchu stunned. As Li Teng accompanied her to the supermarket and helped her pick out shampoo, he bluntly stated that he was familiar with her scent, making Nianchu blush. To provoke Li Teng, Nianchu agreed to a blind date arranged by Shichi. Although Li Teng was unwilling, he gave her a new type of anti-wolf lipstick and followed her car to escort her. After escorting Nianchu, Li Teng went to the ferry bar with his brothers to look for Vasha and learned that she was already under police surveillance. Vasha called Darn, revealing the coin's whereabouts and demanding that he eliminate Nianchu in exchange. The next day, Li Teng accompanied Nianchu to her blind date, deliberately causing trouble and scaring off all her potential suitors. Nianchu was very displeased, but Li Teng secretly felt triumphant. Nianchu's parents ran into Li Teng and Nianchu downstairs in their neighborhood and warmly invited Li Teng to join them for dinner. After the meal, Li Teng volunteered to wash the dishes, and at her mother's suggestion, Nianchu reluctantly apologized to him. However, she questioned Li Teng's motives, asking whether he would still have pursued her if it weren't for the chip. Li Teng was left speechless. Nianchu, furious, decided to fire him. Li Teng visited He Lihua in the hospital and asked if she regretted choosing Lao Xia. He Lihua firmly stated that meeting Lao Xia was her destiny and that she never regretted it. Inspired by her answer, Li Teng gained the courage and confidence to face his feelings honestly and decided to pursue Nianchu again. The next day, Li Teng followed Nianchu to the troupe. The troupe leader introduced the new director, Chen Guoji, an old acquaintance of Nianchu who had come to guide them in participating in the Frontier Art Festival. To welcome Chen Guoji, the leader organized a group dinner, and Li Teng was also invited. At the table, Li Teng confronted Chen Guoji with an aggressive attitude, creating a tense atmosphere. When the troupe set off for Frontier Town, Li Teng followed in his car and openly declared himself Nianchu's boyfriend, but she denied it. Seeing Nianchu chatting happily with Chen Guoji, Li Teng was very displeased and directly placed his bag between them. Upon arriving in Frontier Town, Li Teng and Chen Guoji were assigned to the same room, creating an intensely awkward atmosphere. Chen Guoji attempted to go outside for fresh air, but Li Teng stopped him, bluntly stating that Nianchu was his woman. However, Chen Guoji wasn't one to back down. expressing that he was becoming increasingly interested in Nianchu. While Nianchu and Chen Guoji were rehearsing under a tree, Chen invited her to explore the old town together the next morning to experience the mindset of the heroine. Li Ting watched their every move from a distance. Jiang Hao's investigation revealed that Chen Guoji had racked up huge gambling debts a year ago but had recently paid them off, which Li Ting found suspicious. Chen took Nianchu to learn pottery, expressing his love for ancient coins and asking her to recommend suitable ones. Li Ting suddenly appeared, joining Nianchu in making pottery and whispering in her ear that this was his first time teaching a girl pottery. Chen Guoji suggested that everyone go to the arcade. Inside, someone reminded Chen to get the ancient coin quickly or risk his life, causing him to panic. He immediately sought Nianchu to demand the coin. At that moment, Li Ting appeared, pulling out a coin and tossing it into a game machine, leaving Chen completely shattered. Nianchu realized that Li Ting had known about Chen Guoji's intentions all along and felt used by Li Ting. Angrily, she left the arcade. Back at her dorm, Nianchu locked her door, and Li Ting told her from outside that some things needed to be discussed face-to-face. However, inside the room, Nianchu was being silenced by someone who covered her mouth, unable to respond. Li Ting sensed something was wrong inside the room and kicked the door open, shocked by what he saw. Nianchu was being strangled by a man and was in mortal danger. Li Ting calmly commanded the man to release Nianchu while seeking an opportunity to intervene. Nianchu cleverly grabbed a pen from the table and stabbed the man, and as he loosened his grip, Li Ting swiftly subdued him. However, from the shadows, Basha aimed a cold arrow at Nianchu. Fortunately, Li Ting spotted it in time and quickly pushed Nianchu to the ground, allowing her to narrowly avoid the arrow. Amid the chaos, the man took the opportunity to escape. Basha regretted not being able to eliminate Nianchu, but still had feelings for Li Ting. She warned the man not to harm Li Ting, and he revealed to her that he had placed a tracker on Nianchu. Li Ting drove Nianchu to the countryside, blindfolding her with his tie before leading her to a lavender field. When the blindfold was removed, Nianchu was captivated by the breathtaking scenery and filled with joy. Li Ting formally introduced himself and opened up about his past. Nianchu questioned why he was always so hot and cold, and Li Ting explained that although his initial goal was indeed to obtain the coin, he later feared Nianchu would be endangered because of him. He didn't want her to end up like He Lihua and preferred to protect her silently. Li Ting asked Nianchu how she felt about him, and she said she was willing to give him another chance. They embraced tightly in the lavender field, reconciling their relationship. As they were leaving the field, the man reappeared, declaring that he wanted not only the coin but also Li Ting's life. A fight broke out between Li Ting and the man. Li Ting handed the car keys to Nianchu, urging her to escape. In her panic, Nianchu tried to start the car but was too nervous to succeed. The man viciously attacked Li Ting, wounding his waist and abdomen. Just as the man was about to strike again, Nianchu used her anti-wolf lipstick to stun him. Li Ting covered his wound with his jacket to avoid worrying Nianchu. Nianchu and Li Ting trudged through the rain, and when their phone finally got a signal, Nianchu immediately contacted Jiang Hao for help. In the mountain keeper's house, Li Ting began to shiver uncontrollably, prompting Nianchu to lie down on him, using her body heat to warm him up. The next day after being rescued, Li Ting did not go to the hospital for treatment. Instead, he endured the pain and went to the theater to watch Nianchu's entire play. Nianchu's performance received applause from the audience, but Li Ting, exhausted, fainted backstage and was taken to the hospital. In the hospital, Jiang Hao told Nianchu that Li Ting had waited for her for 5 years and had endured much more than she could imagine, describing the arduous rehabilitation process Li Ting went through to meet her again. Hearing this, Nianchu was moved to tears, and when Li Ting woke up, he comforted her, saying he was fine. Nianchu made soup for Li Ting, and their intimate interaction in the hospital was interrupted by Jiang Hao, who informed Li Ting that the man who had threatened Nianchu was named Duan Kuan, sent by Darn. Li Ting told Jiang how to expedite the decryption of the chip. After Jiang Hao left, Li Ting took Nianchu to the bathroom to help her clean the stains on her clothes. After Nianchu showered, Li Ting tenderly dried her hair, and the intimate atmosphere in the small space led them to embrace and move to the bedroom, where they shared a passionate moment. After their intimate encounter, Nianchu nestled in Li Ting's arms and curiously asked him what he saw in her. Li Ting playfully asked her back, and Nianchu half-jokingly replied that she liked his physique and long legs. The chip was finally decrypted. Nianchu asked Li Teng if he could avoid going to Taichung, and instead hand the chip over to the police. Touched by her concern, Li Teng agreed to turn the decrypted chip over to the authorities, unaware that Darn's organization had caught wind of this, setting off a plot against him. After leaving the police station, Li Teng went to visit Nianchu's parents with a large number of gifts. When Nianchu returned home, she was surprised to find that her parents had already been won over and had agreed to her and Li Teng's trial cohabitation proposal. Upon hearing this, Nianchu dragged Li Teng into her bedroom, where he expressed that living together would provide better protection for her while allowing them to enjoy more time together. The two were getting affectionate in the bedroom when Nianchu's mom walked in with some fruit, awkwardly catching them in the act, causing her to hurriedly leave the room in embarrassment. Nianchu and Li Teng began living together. Li Teng, wearing an apron, called Nianchu to wake up, and when she refused to get up, he planned to give her a playful punishment. Their intimate moment was interrupted by a call from Jiang Hao, who informed them that He Lihua had fallen ill. When they rushed to the hospital, the emotional He Lihua was making her way toward the rooftop, while a mysterious doctor in white silently watched the scene unfold. 5 years ago, Nianchu planned an escape route, but it was dismissed by Li Teng's assistant Tony. Tony told Nianchu that her plan wouldn't work. Despite his warning, Nianchu couldn't resist attempting to flee. She hid in a truck but was caught during a vehicle inspection. In the critical moment, Tony pulled Nianchu into the nearby bushes. The teenage Tony, being closely hugged by Nianchu, couldn't help but feel his heart race due to their proximity. The person watching He Lihua from the rooftop was Tony, who appeared with a bouquet of flowers claiming to be Xia Fei. He Lihua mistakenly believed that Xia Fei had returned and abandoned her plan to jump. Nianchu recognized Tony, and the three went out to eat and reminisce. Tony revealed that Nianchu was his first friend, but the look in his eyes betrayed a feeling that went beyond friendship. Li Teng noticed this and, feeling jealous, wrapped his arm around Nianchu's shoulder, asserting his claim over her. On the way home, Nianchu found Li Teng's behavior odd. Li Teng told her that Tony liked her. Nianchu recalled Tony saying 5 years ago that he wanted to marry her, but she brushed it off as a joke. However, Li Teng seriously told her it was no joke and warned her to keep her distance from Tony. Tony visited the theater troupe to ask Nianchu for help, hoping she could adopt a stray cat, to which Nianchu agreed. When Li Teng picked Nianchu up, he was displeased about her adopting the cat. He pinned Nianchu down and told her that Tony had never seen her as an older sister. Nianchu was shocked by this and planned to find time to clarify things with Tony. Nianchu woke up to find Li Teng making breakfast for her. As they discussed their future in a sweet atmosphere, their peace was shattered by an international call. The caller told Li Teng that Darn had arrived in Yun City and intended to take Nianchu away, wanting Li Teng to experience the pain of losing everything. It turned out that the call was from Chen Guoji, who begged Darn for mercy, but the ruthless Darn ordered his men to kill him. Shockingly, Darn was none other than Tony. Nianchu suggested using herself as bait to lure Darn out, but Li Teng firmly refused. However, after Nianchu's insistence, he eventually agreed. Unbeknownst to them, Tony had already placed a listening device on the cat, and their plan was fully exposed, but Tony decided to continue playing along with their charade. Following Li Teng's arrangements, Nianchu was brought to a special location. Li Teng got down on one knee and proposed, asking her to be his wife. Nianchu was moved to tears and accepted his proposal as Li Teng gently placed the ring on her finger. According to the plan, Nianchu moved into a hotel where Tony's men closely monitored her. Vasha sneaked into the hotel with a bow and arrow, eager to kill Nianchu. But the person lying in wait was Jiang Hao, disguised as Nianchu. Jiang Hao quickly subdued Vasha, pressing a knife to her throat. Li Teng had anticipated Vasha's arrival and arranged for Jiang Hao to cover Nianchu, who had dressed as a housekeeper and left through the back door. However, Vasha did not fight fair and ambushed Jiang Hao, stabbing him viciously and knocking him unconscious. Duan Cohen entered the room to pull Vasha away, but ran into Li Teng in the hallway. Duan Cohen and Vasha were subdued and sent to the police station. Then the hospital delivered tragic news. Jiang Hao had died despite the doctor's best efforts. Devastated, Li Teng received a taunting call from Tony, who claimed that he had Nianchu, and that Li Teng had to follow his orders. According to Tony's instructions, Li Teng and his men went to an abandoned building site, where they found Nianchu dressed as a bride and a ticking time bomb. Tony forced Li Teng into a cruel decision: sacrifice his brothers or watch Nianchu be blown to pieces. Li Teng attempted to exchange himself for Nianchu and his brothers, but Tony refused, only wanting to see Li Teng suffer. This led to infighting among Li Teng's men as they wrestled with each other. Tony confided his dark past to Nianchu, revealing that he was an abandoned child who felt a glimmer of hope only after meeting her. All he wanted was to be with Nianchu, but he believed that becoming stronger was the only way to get what he wanted. Just as Tony became emotional, a kick sent him flying. Li Teng appeared like a godsend in front of Nianchu. It turned out that the Li Teng seen on the monitors was actually Jiang Hao, who had faked his death. Li Teng had long suspected that Tony knew their every move. With the help of the police, he discovered the listening device on the cat and decided to use it against Tony, staging Jiang Hao's fake death. When Tony learned the truth, he used a hidden needle to stab Li Teng. A fierce fight ensued between Li Teng and Tony, with Nianchu watching anxiously. Li Teng finally knocked Tony unconscious. In the final 2 minutes before the explosion, Li Teng successfully defused the bomb under the remote guidance of the police. Fortunately, the bomb was a fake. Li Teng had been able to find Nianchu because he had installed a tracker in her engagement ring. Nianchu half-jokingly remarked that Li Teng was quite cunning. Tony was arrested, and all the evidence was handed over to the authorities. Vasha and Duan Cohen were also set to face legal consequences. Nianchu and Li Teng's wedding was set for July 14th, but the bride and groom were late, causing Nianchu's parents to worry. Li Teng found Nianchu at the theater, dressed in her wedding gown. Due to traffic, he took her on a motorcycle, speeding to the wedding venue where they shared a passionate kiss in front of family and friends.